Welcome to Enlightened Evolution.
I'm Cay.
And I'm Christina.
We're here to discuss the ebb and flow of our soul's healing and transformation through self-reflection, choosing intentionally, honoring thyself, and following your inner guide.
Thank you for joining this safe space with us.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Enlightened Evolution with Cay and Christina. Hope that you're doing well today. Today, we're going to talk about opposition within our extended families. We're going to explore some conflicts, impacts on children, and setting healthy boundaries. How are you doing today? You said you have lots of running to do today. Where are you going? Costco?
Yep. You already know. We are obsessed with the shrimp cocktail at Costco. It's hard for us to buy much food items there because they're in bulk and I don't want them to go bad. But they have a nice, good plate of shrimp cocktail and they're large shrimp. They're cooked. I'm weird about shrimp. I don't want them to be rubbery. I want them to, have a nice texture. And they're just perfect. And so we always buy a shrimp cocktail every time we go. But we're trying to buy a lot of the things that we use, the toilet paper, the laundry detergent, the dishwasher tabs, cleaning stuff, all the things we use a lot of, we'll buy there. Jordan bought he uses the Harry's razors and they had a huge kit of it for $20. And you got I don't even know, at least 10 plus razors, which those are usually expensive. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going there. He's got some gift cards he needs to use. We got to go to Home Depot. We got to go to Academy. And then we're going to this place called Mekong. I'm trying to remember. I think it's Vietnamese food. So good. We're meeting our friends Sam and Janelle there and their kids. And we're going to go have dinner. We love it there. But it's kind of far from, it's about an hour from our house. So we don't go there often.
That does sound good.
Do you got any good plans?
No, I'm still sick as fuck. So I'm just gonna, the sun's shining today though. I'm not sick anymore. My body's just drained.
Yeah.
So I feel like I need to go do something. I feel like I need to get out and go do something. So maybe I'll go to the farmer's market or something.
Yeah. I saw a video from there. The person that has the big veggie stand there, they were doing a video of all the really cool, unique vegetables and fruits they have there that you won't find it. Almost you would find at the Asian market. So maybe they'll have some good.
The dragon fruit.
Good for. Ooh, yep, dragon fruit. I'm trying to think.
I really want the yellow dragon fruit because
that one's my favorite. That one has more flavor.
Yeah, it does. That's my favorite too, and that's why I wanted to go to the Asian market. But it's an hour away. I just don't know if I feel like driving that far.
Yeah, that would drain me on a day that I felt good. Just having to drive all the way there, then walking around, then driving all the way back. I would be done for.
Yeah, I really want some dumplings though.
That does. That may, fill your body's cup up.
That's right. That's right.
Might be worth it.
It is. So I wanted to talk about this because my kids, well, not so far my son anymore because he's older, but my daughter, she has so me and my parents are pretty much I'll say more of on a liberal sense, just so people can understand. And her other set of grandparents are more a conservative side. So because I work 12-hour shifts, she has to either be with my parents or her other set of grandparents. And both are great. However, it's very different mindsets, belief systems, values. And I think it's difficult for my daughter to go to her other set of her grandparents' house. And so it's just something that I've been struggling with, her confusion, over our, it's kind of these mixed messages about what's right and wrong. And so I'm trying to instill in her, because before I say this, do you think that more of conservative values are more more controlling, a little bit more manipulative, a little bit more judgmental?
Or what?
So I'm just in
Oh,
general.
like, is that
Like
for conservative?
because from
Yeah.
like conservative values from like a Christian point, because they're like also very Christian. They have a very like strict set of biblical rules they go by. And I've had to make a point like, I don't really want you imposing this belief system on my daughter when she's with you. And my
Yeah.
daughter doesn't necessarily like going over there.
Mhm.
She expresses to me like she'd rather go to like my parents' house than her other grandparents' house. And so I feel like she feels like very judged there, and she doesn't feel like she can be herself. She doesn't feel like she can be as like silly and goofy. And I think she goes like more inward there, and she feels a little bit more isolated because she's always afraid of like being in trouble, versus like at my
Mhm.
parents' house she can be like goofy and silly and kind of, I don't know, like say whatever she wants, or like, you know what I mean, like just like do these goofy TikTok videos
Express
that she wants to
herself.
make. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's caused me like some stress, I think, when she goes to her other grandmas. She's gotten a little bit better. I've had to set some boundaries. But like for instance, in like the fall, my daughter ordered this book, and she ordered it like with her own money online, and I wouldn't have necessarily approved of this book, but I didn't even get a chance to like intercept or have a conversation with her because her other grandma found it. The day it got delivered, I was working, and she said that my daughter was like being disrespectful about it, and I was going to let her read it anyways. But she's just, a little preteen talking shit. Like, we don't know what I was going to do because no conversation was ever had with me. And her grandma
Mhm.
like threw this book in the fire as like a punishment for her. So,
No.
like, that was upsetting to me. And I told her, I was like, you're like, that was impulsive and neurotic for you to do that. I
Yeah.
told her that. And so ever since then, like I've slowly been having my daughter go back over there again, but I became like pretty standoffish after that.
Yeah. That and it's like it's great to have those resources. Like you and I have talked, like I don't have a village here. Like if we were to have children, I don't have grandparents here to watch our kids and help with childcare. So it's great like to have that resource, but at the same
Mhm.
time, like there has to be firm boundaries. Just because you're willing to watch my kid, like yeah, I don't expect my kid to be disrespectful in your household, but I feel like what some people find disrespectful and others are very different things. And discipline, like that was a form of discipline for your child, like that went way out of hand. Like she should not have burned something that your child bought. Like she should have had a conversation with you before that ever occurred.
Mhm.
And if I'm at work and you can't get a hold of me, then we'll just have a conversation later.
Yeah. Like I do feel like she's pretty impulsive, and she's like a take charge, and I don't know. So it's frustrating because I do appreciate her support, but then again, I don't want to have my daughter to be exposed to like I don't want her to feel like shame for doing certain things. And
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to like if you are interested in reading these things that are inappropriate, like, and it was like a book like written by teenagers and just about the certain things that teenagers go, but it's like I wanted to explore those things with her and see where her mind's at, and instead her grandma just made her feel like she was like bad.
Yeah.
So, and it also from like the religious standpoint as well, like I am not religious whatsoever.
Mhm.
And so like her grandma says that she doesn't impose her religious beliefs, but I know that she makes her little comments, like her passive aggressive comments sometimes. So it's
Mhm.
just difficult, like when you do need like support from people, but you don't agree with their lifestyle. And it's almost like a lot of people are worried about like setting the boundaries with them in fear of like losing their support, I guess. Now that my daughter's a little bit
Yes.
older, I don't mind so much. Like she can spend a few hours at home, but when she was
Mhm.
younger, it would have been a problem.
Oh yeah.
because my sister, her religion's different as well. Like my daughter's aunt and my daughter's grandma, like none of them like celebrate the holidays. So
Oh.
like when my niece comes into town sometimes like she'll make comments about that and we all find it like pretty interesting. And now that my kids are older, it's fine. But when they were younger, it almost feels like this like an increased stress because it's like on our part, like we don't care. But we know that
Right.
you judge us and you think that we're wrong and you think that we're sinning and you think we're going to go to hell for the way that we live our life, you know? And so it's just very,
Mhm.
mm, I don't know. You try to like walk on eggshells when you're around them.
Yeah, and I feel like you can't tell other people how to parent or raise their children. So if I if I'm a grandparent and I have feelings about the way you're raising your child, and I know that I do not have the perspective of being a grandparent, but we shouldn't be telling each other unless I'm coming to you and asking for advice, you shouldn't be telling me that what I'm doing is wrong. I don't
Mhm.
know. Have you gotten that at all from your parents?
If anything, my my mom and my son have always been super close. So it's not really from like that aspect, but my mom is definitely like will make excuses for his behavior.
Hmm.
Which is I feel like it's like typical grandparent behavior. So
Yeah.
she's like completely opposite. Like
Yeah.
he can do
And
no
that's what,
wrong.
yeah. And I've heard a lot of people say that like they may have had maybe a really adverse childhood with their parents, but then their parents end up being excellent grandparents. And like, I mean, that was
Mhm.
kind of the case with me and my mom and my grandma. Like, my grandma was horrible to my mom, but my grandma spoiled the shit out of me. I could do no wrong. Like, I was just great. She would give me anything I wanted. If
Yeah.
anyone tried to tell me no, she would be like if I would go cry to her. My mom said I can't do blah blah blah, and she'd be like, "Kathy, let your daughter." So, I mean, there's that aspect, but then there's the other aspect of like your daughter's other grandma who seems to be like very controlling and condemning and kind of the opposite of what grandparents typically will do. I feel like grandparents typically, are a little easy with the
Mhm.
grandkids.
I know. And she has gotten better, I will say. She goes, I'm gonna just be grandma now. I'm like, okay, well that's good. You know,
Yeah, just be
like
a loving, safe space for your grandkids. That's all you got to do.
yeah, because I'm very open with my daughter, but if I wasn't willing to have conversations with her or I didn't know how, like she would probably have like some identity struggles, like conflicting or religious or like cultural expectations. It might confuse her, you know?
Hmm.
And then just like observing these unresolved like family disputes puts a lot of pressure on her too. And I just don't want her to have to worry about any of that.
Yeah. Do you feel like she gets pressured by that side of the family to spend more time with them? Like, do they ever say things to her like, you should come here more, or you need to, spend your allotted
Yeah.
time with us? And
Yeah.
that puts a lot of pressure on a kid. I remember receiving that as a kid, like when my dad would have visitation, my bio dad, and his family would like constantly make me part of conversations where like, oh, well, you should be spending more time with your dad. And I'm like, I'm 7 years old. Like, it's not up to me. Like, I should not have ever been part of those conversations.
Yeah, my daughter's experienced some of that too. Like, how come you don't pick up the phone and call? It's like, I don't think that's a kid's responsibility.
Absolutely not. I hate when adults say that. Like, you are the adult. You are the one that should be reaching out on a regular
Mhm.
basis, not the child.
Yeah, making an effort. I don't know. I think that for people that have younger kids, try to like set those like boundaries. I don't know, like early, like, hey, like Have you ever seen those like crazy nanny shows? How like they have like this end list of rules, like you're not allowed to say certain things to kids, you're not allowed to do certain things, they can't eat a certain way. And it's like you can't veer off of these rules. I know it's like so hard for people to do that, like when they have grandparents raising kids,
Oh,
but
mm-hmm.
like helping out, you know. But like I kind of had to be that way with my daughter's grandma. Like there's just certain things we're not going to be talking about, like religion or lack of holidays. We're not going to be like, I don't want you disciplining her harshly. Like she doesn't need to get smacked if she's disrespectful, you know, like things like that.
Yeah. And I think, especially because I feel like our generation is raising kids differently than we were raised. There was a lot of physical discipline when we were being raised and other things.
Mm-hmm.
I think setting people up for success is the best way to go about it. So when you do have those relationships where someone is going to be watching your kid on a regular basis or just once, set that at the forefront of, hey, this is how we discipline, we do timeouts or whatever we do. We don't do physical contact or we don't talk about religion. Like set them up for success as best you can up front. It may seem overbearing, but in the long run, you're setting them up to meet the needs of your family.
Mm-hmm. When you were a kid, do you remember like your grandparents or your parents like forcing you to give affection to other adults because they're your uncle or they're your
Yep.
my grandma used
I
to
am
always
not for
go
that.
me either. Ugh. Just thinking about it now, just
Yeah. Because kids sense that too. Like, I could sense when somebody was a weirdo and I didn't want to go give them a hug or sit on their lap. Like,
mm-hmm.
no,
I remember being forced to do
absolutely.
that. And also it sets them up for like not being able to set boundaries with people, like giving
Yeah.
consent, saying no.
Hmm.
Like I wonder if
And it's
that's
something
why
that, like, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, like, I wonder if that's why, like, I didn't want to say no.
Yeah, I think so. And it seems so like simple and like, I don't think like our parents were really thinking about what the long-term effect that would be, but you have to teach body autonomy super early because unfortunately it is usually in early childhood when kids get taken advantage of. So they need to know at any time they can say no.
Mhm.
And no means no. That's actually something like Jordan will play with our friend's daughter and she'll like jokingly say like stop, stop. But I like I get on to Jordan, like he'll be tickling her or something. I like, you have to stop when she says stop. Like I know you
Yeah.
guys are playing
Uh-huh.
around, but like
Yeah.
if she says no or she says stop, like you have to stop. And I think I'm probably like overprotective, but I very much am like very aware of that.
Mhm. And I'm sure he stops, but does that's but you they kids should be taught that too though. Like if you say stop, mean it.
Mean it, and then you should expect that that person does stop. And then what if what if they don't? Then what's the next step from there? Like they should know that the trusted people in their life are going to respect their boundaries.
Yeah. I just it was just always so creepy to me. Like looking
Mm-hmm.
back, like the things that were like made us do like I remember being like we had to go to like catechism school and I remember sitting in like this circle table with all of us kids and the priest was like walking around like looking at what we were drawing or whatever and he was like rubbing and like caressing all of our heads like it was the weirdest thing and I remember
That's really
going
weird.
home. I know, I remember going home like telling my dad about it and he never made us go back. But
Good.
I know that thank goodness he didn't make us go back, but I just feel like as children, like maybe it happened like more so in our generation, but I feel like we were put in so many situations that made us uncomfortable. And because out of the fear of being like disrespectful, we just allowed
Yes.
things to happen when really it was unsafe or
Absolutely.
people.
I was always
Mhm.
told, respect your elders. You always obey adults. Like, I was never told, like, you're allowed to have discernment. You're allowed to say no. And like you said, like, so you would do what adults said.
Mhm. I don't know. I just think I just try to like limit the time now,
Do you feel
and
like you try to like choose your battles of what you're going to address and what you're not?
yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I do. Like, there's somebody in the family that Kyla hasn't talked to in a while, and they haven't reached out to her, and it's an adult from her other side of the family. And her grandma, the other day, Kyla was with her after school, and she's like, "How come I haven't talked to so and so in a while?" And I know that this person isn't doing great. And so
Mm-hmm.
I made a point to tell her grandma a few days prior, like, "Hey, you don't have to I really don't want Kyla to like go over there and spend time. I know this person's not doing great right now. It probably wouldn't be great if she would be exposed to them right now."
Mm-hmm.
So the next day, me and Kyla were just talking, and she's like, "How come you said I couldn't hang out with so and so?" I'm like, "Well,
Oh,
what do you?" I'm like, "Who told you that?" She's like, "Well, Grandma told me that you didn't want me seeing them right now." And I'm like, "Interesting." Because me
mm,
and her grandma just had a conversation about the fact that her grandma also hasn't seen this person in quite a while because of their behavior. So you didn't have to put it all on, like, I don't feel like you had to say, like, "Oh, mom doesn't want you hanging out with them right now." So, like, in that situation, I haven't addressed that with her yet, but I want to.
yeah. And I think that's one of those things that you do need to address because obviously it stuck out to her of like, why did you say I can't? Well, actually, we both, kind of agree that it's not a great time to talk to this person. Yeah,
I don't know,
a
just
tough
like
one to handle.
I know, just like the manipulation, and I would say it's just hard. Like when you have kids and you need support systems from your other sides of the family, like when there's manipulation going on, especially with like religious views, or like the political standpoints are a little bit different, like conservative versus liberal.
Hmm.
Like when you do have to go spend time with these people, even outside of them watching your kids, like limit these conversations away from religion, away from politics. And when you do have to, like, I don't know, like the activities, like try to make the activities different or something, like when you're hanging out with them,
Yeah.
like not geared so much towards just like having to sit down around a table and have a conversation, like get up and like hang out with your kids more. And so you don't have to, I don't know, talk to them so much about things. It's so hard with families. Like I spent a lot of time with my family growing up, and just looking back, like all my aunts and uncles are so like we're all so different,
Hmm.
which is good, like to have that difference, but we had a lot of like different exposure to like different values and belief systems.
Yeah. Do you think there's anything you do to create a positive experience between your children and extended family?
I think that I just try to make her aware of like the things that her grandma says, or the things that just because they believe something, it doesn't mean it's right. And just because it resonates with
Hmm.
them, it doesn't mean that that's something that we have to choose, and we're not bad just because they deem us as bad,
Yeah.
if we don't have the same belief system.
Hmm.
If you and Jordan end up having kids, what do you think you're going to do when it comes to like childcare and who you expose your kids to? Just because you're just going to be so ultra aware now, I feel like.
Yeah. And my mom does have very conservative, and she's very like outward with her beliefs. I don't know that especially from a young age, I don't know that I would want my children to be alone with her, just because some of the things that come out of her mouth are wild. I think, kids learn a little bit sense of self as they get older, creeping towards those teenage years. They can learn a little bit more discernment. And I would have to just go from there. I mean, luckily, unluckily, she doesn't live here. So, like, it wouldn't be someone, like, if we were spending time with her, we would all be spending time together. But at the same time, like, that's another reason why we haven't had kids. We don't have a support system here. We have our friends, Sam and Janelle, but like, I mean, at the same time, you're like, I don't want to be a burden to anyone. Like, and it's weird, but like, I don't know. Cause like if they asked us for help, we would not see that as a burden. But then like, I think of like, asking someone else to watch my kids so I can go have a date night or something. The thought of daycare just creeps me out. I have so much anxiety around people and the way they hurt children. And so that's like a big fear of mine.
Did you,
is even just
were you
putting
in
them in
daycare
public.
were you in daycare when you were a kid?
No, I was always watched by my grandparents. So my grandparents at first they lived 2 streets away, and they were both, my grandma didn't work and my grandpa was retired at that point. So they were always my babysitters. And then I was in school. So that was good. I did have, like, I went to preschool and stuff like that. Yeah, so I never had to be in like a daycare center with strangers, really.
I feel like school is bad enough. Public school
We
is
just
bad
had
enough.
we just had a school shooting here this year in our community, and they still haven't implemented they let the kids go back to school. They still haven't implemented metal detectors in the school. And another kid brought a gun to school in that same school. I would be so irate if I was a parent with kids in that school. Like, I'm irate as a citizen nearby. Like, what do you mean? Like, and they're like, oh, well, we had to find a way to work it into the budget and we had to order them. No, expedite that shit today because their kids went virtual for a while, like right after the shooting. Don't come back until it's there. Not that that's going to be like the soul saving thing, but certainly it would have caught the kid that brought another gun to school.
Yeah.
Like,
or at least stand there with the handheld ones and like scan each kid if you
right,
have
wand
to.
them. Y'all gonna wait outside in the cold, I guess, till everyone gets wanded. Like, I don't know. It's a scary world that we live in for sure. And I give so much credit to parents because there's so many things that you have to consider and think about, and the emotional labor alone of being a parent, like, forget the physical labor. Like, it's a lot.
It is so wild because you have to like guide them and not let them do any like stupid shit. But then again, you got to like let them also be themselves and explore and
learn lessons themselves.
It's so wild. I enjoy it much more now that they're older.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get out today and do something with her and her cousin or something.
Good. Go enjoy, soak up the sunshine. I'm sure her body needs that, some sunshine.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it does. Oh, I really don't
got
have
anything else for us?
I do not.
Okay. I don't really either.
I just want people to like just be able to have conversations with your kids. If there's, just because they're your parents, it doesn't mean that they're right. And it doesn't mean that, oh, just because that's grandma, just because that's grandpa. People cut people out of their lives all the time that are their family that are hurtful. So just be mindful about how your extended family impacts your kids.
Yeah. Set those boundaries often and keep an eye on who does not respect them.
That's right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to us today. You can find us where you listen to all your podcasts, and you can find us on YouTube. Please give us a like and a share. Let your friends know. Namaste.